Hello everyone, and welcome to my Flosstube. This is Flosstube number 8 and it is Wednesday the 31st of March. This is a channel about my cross stitching, and today I'm going to recap over some of the goals I achieved this month in March and some of the plans that I have for my stitching in April. I have one FFO to show you and a little bit of haul. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to all my subscribers and everyone who leaves me a comment. It really makes my day, and I really feel that I've made some really nice friends within the stitching community. So yeah, we'll get the things we've got to show you. It's a lovely day here in the Dales. It was a lovely day yesterday. I managed a nice walk with my grandson around our local castle area. It's supposed to be turning a little bit cold later on as the week goes on, but that's normal for up here in the north of the UK. We have been in lockdown since January, just starting to come out of it now gradually. So we'll see how things go. I still have lockdown hair, but we've all been there, so I don't think I'll try and do anything about it myself, as I may need to end up wearing a hat, as the colours may not quite go together. So I'll just have to wait until the hairdressers open up again and get transformed that way. So firstly, the book of days. I've been keeping on top of mine, writing in all my stitching projects. So this is the month of March. I highlight different things such as stitch alongs, goals that I've achieved, finishes that I've done, any new starts. I all put it in here. At the beginning of the following month, I always write down the projects that I'm going to be thinking of working on over the next month. And that's how I keep a note of what I'm doing. So I'm really enjoying working with this and keeping a history and a note of everything that I've been doing. So I'll start off with my FFO. Now this FFO I actually finished stitching last month, but I didn't complete it into anything. So it's Springtime by Abby Rose Designs, and I finished mine into a little pillow, which I thought worked really well with this piece. So I chose green to mix in with the foliage and the leaves and trees. And just had this little bit showing at the bottom and backed it to the same fabric, put some chenille around, and I think it's worked out really well. I love this design, and I love the series in these seasonal designs that Abby Rose Designs does. I did use some of the called for DMC that were there, but some of them I converted myself with what was in my own stash. But yeah, I think this one worked really well, and I'm glad to have it finished and up on the shelf now. It is stitched on 18 count vintage mocha Ada. Here's the deal, I always generally stitch on 18 count Ada because I like stitching on it, and it's what my eyes can see best and I feel comfortable with. So yeah, really pleased with that one. So that was my FFO for this month. I didn't have many other FFOs because I've been concentrating on working on some really rather large projects to get them going so that I can have the goals achieved and set some new goals for the month coming up. So let's go through some of the ones that I've been working on this month. So the first one is Seeking Refuge by the Scarlett House. This is a lovely piece. I love this. So again, I've stitched on 18, this is my progress, and I've stitched on 18 count Ada. I've got them written down on some little notes here so I don't forget to tell you. It's Mushroom by Lakeside, and I'm using the called for DMC threads. So at the back end of February I had just done this bit, so my goal for this month was to complete this whole house. And there is a lot of stitching in this house and keeping up with all the brickwork and the windows, but that was my goal and that's what I achieved, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So moving further on to next month, I want to achieve the other side of the trees and the little flowers around and complete this border along the bottom of the house here. So that will be the goal that I set myself next month on the Scarlett House Seeking Refuge piece. The next one that I've been working on is the Linen and Threads Stitch Along sampler. I'm doing last year's one, the 2020. As it's all been released last year, I have all the parts to the stitch along. So what I decided to do was just do it as it was done, and each month just take one of the parts that was released and just work on that only, so that this is going to be a year-long project, and when it comes to the end of the year I'll have the sampler finished. So far this is my progress, and this month I worked on this bit down here. I'm really enjoying this. I'm finding that this is the first project of the month I seem to go to, because I like to complete all these little separate motifs. I'm using DMC 115, which is a variegated red thread, which I really like this one. This is my go-to for a variegation, and I think it's working really well with the colour and the symbols on this chart. So this is stitched on 18 count Ada Cafe au Lait from Lakeside, and as I said, it's DMC 115. So my goal next month is, there's a rather large motif of flowers coming into this area. So as it's a rather large one, I've decided to just do that for next month and see how we go. I also decided this month that I will have a go at the sampler stitch along that Linen and Threads are doing for this year. I haven't quite completed up to where the downloads are, excuse me, but I built in the framework so that I'm able to continue as I go along. Again, I'm using the same DMC 115 because I think it works well for the sampler, and it's 18 count Ada Cafe au Lait, the same as the other one. Now I feel now that I've got the framework of the piece actually in, because there's some very long borders in this, that I'm going to be able to continue with it now each month, and just keep adding to the border and adding the individual parts in as they come along. But I'm really enjoying both of these, and getting the bits each month and just filling it in and watching it grow. So goals for next month will be the part that's released that I don't know, because this is a current one. And they're released on the 1st of every month. And so I'll do the part that's released, and I'll continue with a bit more of these borders as I go along. I'm not in a particular hurry to have this one finished by the end of the year, so it's just something nice to stitch on. So that's that one. The next one that I've been working on is Autumn Quakers by Rosewood Manor. I really love this one. I'm an autumnal person, and these are just my colours all over. So again, I'm stitching on 18 count Cafe au Lait Ada, and this is the progress that I have so far. With this one, I'm using DMC 4511. It's a variegated thread with reds, greens, golds and browns in, and I thought it would work really well with this. So what I'm doing is I'm actually making each individual cross at a time with this to keep the variegation and to keep the colours running so they don't cross over onto each other. But I think it's working really well. So obviously I've been doing this bit here. I'm just coming into this rather large motif here. And what I've done is split the sampler into 6 with the pages. And I'm going to work on it that way so it's not too much of a big thing and too busy for me. So my goal for next month is I've to finish this motif here, and I'm going to be working on this side here and see how I get along. The next one is, it's a kit. It's a Bothy Threads kit, and it's I'm Late from the Alice in Wonderland series. So this one is actually, the fabric comes in the kit. So this is, get the right one. This is my progress so far. So it's a 14 count Ada, which is already pre-printed on, and DMC thread that's included in the kit. So what I did with this one was I decided to split it into 4 and just work on one bit each month. So this was the part I'd worked on this month, and I'm going to work on this part next month. So that I've worked this and I come down to working this part now. This one also does have a bit of metallic thread involved in it, which is in the kit, so that will be nice to use. The next one is another one of the Bothy thread kits in the same series, called the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. So this month I've done exactly the same as the other one, split it into 4. This month I worked on this bit, and next month I'm going to work on Alice and the rabbit. So there's the Mad Hatter, and this month I'll be working over this side. And so I'll just work them both together with them little goals and see how they come along. Now the final piece that I had this month, again it's another kit. This is one that has been in my cupboard for over 5 years now. I started this and then I stopped, and I've taken it back out, but I have a bit of an issue with it and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. So this is Henry VIII by DMC. Now I've seen this already stitched up and it is absolutely beautiful, and I have a real interest in the history of Tudors and Henry VIII, so this is one that I really wanted to get done. However, having been stashed in my cupboard for so long and left with a hoop on, which I didn't realise, there's a slight marking on the fabric where the hoop has been sitting, and I'm not sure if it's going to come out. So what would you do? Do I carry on stitching and hope that the stitching will cover that mark up? Do I try and remove the mark that's been left in there? As I haven't actually stitched that much of it in comparison to the chart. My final choice would be, do I start again? So I'm having a bit of a rethink over this one. I definitely want to do it, but I'm just not sure which is the best way to go about it at the moment. So let me know what you would do. Would you carry on? Would you try removing the mark? Or would you just start again? I want to kind of make a decision this month what I'm definitely going to do with this one. So we shall see what happens. So they're the things that I've been working on this month, and the things that I'm going to set myself some goals to continue with next month. But they are rather big projects, so I just take them bit by bit as I go along. So I've done my whips and goals, my FFO. So some other plans that I have for next month. This is Little House Needleworks samplers. Now I've chosen, I have shown this in a previous video, but what I chose to do was do each of these samplers separately so that I could have them up throughout the seasons. So I did do this spring one a couple of months ago, and I have that up just now. This month I would like to make a start on the summer one, in the same way as this, but for the summer. So I think they're lovely little samplers, and like I say, one day I might decide to stitch the whole thing together as one whole piece, but at the moment I'm just taking them individually, and for each of the seasons. Because I had done the springtime, I'm going to start the summertime, and do exactly the same as the springtime, put some fabric and make it into a pillow. But I just really love these from Abbey Rose Designs. So that's going to be another one that I start. I also would like to make a start on the Summer ABCs by Little House Needleworks. Now, this was the spring one that I had done, and I made it into a flat fold and just backed it with some fabrics. So I'm going to do the summer one in exactly the same way. Make it into a flat fold with some fabrics. So I'm going to make a start with this one so that it's ready to go up when I change everything over. I also have this summer band sampler from Little House Needleworks, which I'd like to make. So I'm going to be having a start with this one as well. So along with the bigger projects that I set the goals for to keep continuing with, there are a few extra things that I'm hoping to get started so that I can start my summer stitching and have it ready for when the seasons change from spring to summer. I have just a little bit of haul this time round. This is the Tudor Bee by the Blue Flower. As I said, I love anything to do with Tudor history, anything to do with this kind of thing. And I just fell in love when I saw this. And I also have the Tudor Swan by the Blue Flower. So I'm really looking forward to stitching these two up. And they will accompany my Henry VIII piece when finished. So really that's all I've been up to this time round. Like I say, finishing goals, setting new goals, working on some rather larger projects, setting in some summertime stitching that I'd like to start, and just generally carrying on with stitching. So I hope that you've enjoyed what I've had to show, and been interested in the things that I've got, and we'll see how I get on for next time round. So take care, stay safe, and happy stitching everyone. Bye.